So what recommendations would you have for students who go to college, because they're going to be up against some varieties of trying to pluck them from their faith? So what do you recommend on that?
Okay, two things. Number one, what do you do for people who are going to go to college? And we take surveys. We were talking about this before this started. We take surveys and we discover by the time you get somebody in like a junior year of college, we will survey them. Sometimes in their freshman year in college, sometimes in their sophomore year. And we would typically just say, "Were you raised in the church?" "Yes, I was." "Are you a Christian now?" "No, I'm not." And so we assumed that this is happening at college. That we send our kids to college, and then by the time they're in their junior year, they're no longer Christians. But in the last 5 years, we've been asking a more nuanced question, and that is simply this. Okay, you're not a Christian today? No. But you were growing up? Yes. When did you decide it wasn't true? We didn't ask that when question for probably the first 10 years of these surveys, because I've got them all. I collected them all. I started off as a youth pastor 15 years ago with my own kids. And I will tell you that the surveys tell us over and over again that it happens between the ages of 10 and 17. It's not happening at university. University is happy to welcome the kids who came here without a faith system because they decided it wasn't true when they were in high school or in junior high, and they just never told their parents. And they sure went to youth group, they did all that. But the first year they're out, they're no longer attending church because they didn't believe it was true for 5 years. Turns out that parents, you don't need to worry about your kids in college because you're the problem. I'm the problem. We are the problem. We have not done enough while they're still with us. And it turns out that the age of skepticism is no longer your first year in college. It's the first year your parents give you the glowing rectangle. The glowing rectangle is the source of all skepticism. So you got to be very careful about when we do this, right? When we do that. So that's number one. But I want you to be encouraged, okay? Because this is doable. I know it sometimes can feel like it's not doable. Like there's too much for us as parents. But it turns out it starts off with the loving relationships that we have with our kids. And it's okay, they're going to have a season of course they're going to have a season of exploring something. But it turns out that if they love you, they will want to come back. And I call that rubber band theology. Don't go too far because it hurts more when you let go. Go just a little bit. It doesn't hurt as bad. Because you're coming back. It's just going to hurt when you do. So what we have to do is, I'll give you one illustration to kind of make it clearer. I had a guy who I was working officer-involved shootings. And when the officer was involved in a shooting, he pulled over a drunk driver. He goes up to the window. He says to the drunk driver, he can smell alcohol. Could you come out of this car, please? I'm going to do a field sobriety test, an FST. He asks him to step out of the car. The guy steps out of the car. He steps out of the car, and imagine this is the bad guy. He's standing about this far from the officer. He has got a gun in his waistband. The officer doesn't know it. He's a parolee. He does not want to be caught with a gun in his waistband. So he decides that night he's going to kill the officer rather than be caught with a gun in his waistband. Because that was a year back in those days, a year in jail for just possession of the gun, if you're a parolee. So he turns around, faces away from the cop, because the cop asked him to do a pat-down search. When he turns back around to face the cop, he's got his gun out, he's pointing at the officer. The officer is just too far to do a takeaway. He knows he's stuck. I'm interviewing the officer, so clearly he made it out alive, right? Because I'm talking to him about it. And I'm there just to do the follow-up investigation. I said, "What did you do?" He said, "Well, I thought about a couple of things. I thought I could try to tackle him. I thought I could probably jump behind my car or his car. I just was trying to think my options, and I realized I didn't have time for any of that, so I just decided, because he had his bulletproof vest on, and he had seen that vest stop bullets in the range, because we will shoot bullets at the vest and show the officers that they actually work. So he said, "You know what, I just decided to tense up my stomach muscles and take the first couple of rounds, hopefully it'll hit me in the head, and I'll return fire." And that's how he got out alive that night. Now think about that for a second. He was able to stand in a time of crisis with confidence because he had good reason to believe his vest would do what it was supposed to do, because he had seen it evidentially. He could make a case for it. You want your kids to stand in a crisis? And by the way, in that moment, he moved from belief to belief in that vest. Because he never had trusted the vest for that before. He knew it could do it, but now he had to trust in it. So I think the key is that he already had an evidential experience that gave him confidence that the vest could stop bullets. Do our kids have that kind of experience that can demonstrate that the vest can stop bullets? If they can, then they can take care of anything that happens in college. So the question is, Do your kids know how to answer the most important questions that worldview has to answer? How do we get here? Why is it so messed up? How do we fix it? Those are the three biggest questions in worldview. We've got good answers as Christians. I think the Bible actually describes the world the way it actually is. So we have good answers. But by the way, I guarantee you, I know Mike, I feel bad about this too. I'm in Los Angeles. We have the Rams and the Chargers. Oh, the Lakers and the Clippers. Oh, the Dodgers and the Angels. Oh, the Kings and the Ducks. My kids know a lot about my sport preferences. Yours probably do too. Do they know as much rich theology as they ought to know? Like, what are we even taking our time to talk about? That's what it comes down to, folks. It comes down to, are we willing to reprioritize to the stuff that matters? C.S. Lewis put it this way: if Christianity is not true, it's of no importance. If it is true, it's of incredible importance. The one thing he said it cannot be, and he's right, is moderately important. It's either of no importance or of critical importance. It cannot be moderately important. So what are we, I'm preaching to the choir because you're all here on a Monday night. So I get it. But that's really what, I'm not really worried about you guys. But I'm worried about the church. So that's really, I think, what I would say to that. So you get a long answer for a short question.